All right, hello and welcome everybody. This is another player spotlight. Today we have a local Magic Judge, Stephen St. Clair. How's it going?
Hey guys, I'm doing pretty great. Though don't like it to I'm not enjoying not getting to see my favorite Magic community though.
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting and pretty rough, but hopefully we will get through it soon here.
That's hopefully the goal.
All right, so I'm going to jump into the first question here. How did you get started in gaming, and what drew you to it?
So it was right after I got out of high school. I remember someone showed me a card, because he like used to just collect like random cards and of like random games, and he showed me. I remember it was a Vampire Nighthawk, and he was like, what does this do? And I took a look because I played Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh before. It's like, well, from what I know, the life link is when you do damage, it heals you, and then the death touches any damage it does kills the thing. He's like, huh, this is pretty cool. So he got, I think it was the one of like the deck builders kits, and I went through that with him, and I was like, this is pretty cool. So I bought my own and kind of just sprung myself into Magic that way.
Yeah, I can definitely tell you that Vampire Nighthawk is still one of my favorite cards. It's just so much bang for your buck.
That yeah, it's so much value. It's got flying, lifelink, dead touch for 3 mana. It's really good.
Yeah, so you are one of the local judges. I think you're actually one of the only two judges out here in the valley. What drove you to uh, become a judge?
It was so the other judge and I, we both kind of started at about the same time, and I think it was Commander we were getting into, and Commander is very famous for creating very interesting and kind of niche scenarios. And there was someone who proclaimed to be a judge, and they would make rulings, and to him, both of us, it was that doesn't kind of sound right. So we ended up looking it up, and like, no, like this is what it says online. um, and that kind of drove us both to wanting to, at least for me, I can't speak for the other judge, but to help like educate and like show people what Magic was trying to do and like the quote correct way to play it. So I kind of pushed myself. I didn't really put a lot of effort, but I stayed up to date with like these are what's changing with the rules, with the release sets. And I knew a couple corner cases here and there, like Tarmogoyf with no instant, and you try to bolt it. Um, and I finally pushed myself. It was I want to say maybe 2 years ago now that I really pushed for like I want to become a judge. It was less of a status thing, but more of a a recognized icon to the community that yes, I know what I'm talking about. I want new people to know that yes, he's in this now case the judge, and you can trust what he's saying. He's put his time and his research in. Um, and it's proved to be really helpful that way. I've met a lot of new people that way and was able to hopefully instill trust that I'm not trying to deceive or show any favoritism.
Yeah, I remember having you out at one of our recent events, and I think it was the last Commander event that we had, and you went around to each pod and made sure to say, "Hey, I'm the judge. If you have any questions, ask. Asking a judge should never be a sign of you think the other person's messing with you or anything like that. It was just you're there as an information and as
As a
as
resource.
verification. Yeah, yeah,
and and I think that I think kind of helped because there were a couple newer people who I didn't know, and this was my first like opportunity, so I wanted to make a good first impression. And I feel like there were enough calls to like people weren't calling. I think he's cheating, but more of, well, how do these cards work together, and well, can I do this? And it was a really fun event.
yeah, definitely. Um, So that kind of jumps in as we were talking about the Commander format. What is your favorite Magic format and why?
Um, so it really depends on the season. Um, I'll alternate between modern and commander, though I've played in paper everything except vintage. I've played pauper, standard, modern, legacy. I've played some cube. Um, it'll bounce between the two depending really what our scene's looking like, and like how everyone else is feeling for it. I feel really comfortable in both of the events. At the moment, I'm on a commander kick. Um, I like to kind of pimp my decks, but in like weird and unusual ways. So I'm going and like finding these miscut cards that, while promos look cool, they're a lot more common than seeing a miscut card. And this is a cool way to show off those efforts.
Yeah, definitely. Um, so uh, we're going to talk about some sets. So as far as like gameplay goes, like mechanics, card interactions within that set, what would you say your favorite is?
When you proposed like the list of questions, I was thinking about it, and I still haven't narrowed it down to exactly one specific set, but rather the Modern Masters set as a whole. They're able to bring back cards from all sorts of time for Modern and create interactions that don't normally happen, and it's a fantastic experience for the culmination of Modern's era, and see what a limited power level of Modern's staples can look like.
So yeah, it's kind of like it's the best of the best. It's essentially the all stars.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. What about as far as theme? I don't know how much you follow like the storylines and such, but do you have any sets that jump out to you thematically, either like art style or story?
For themes, the whole block of Theros is fantastic. The idea of just gods and mortals, and there being what they introduced were like common enchantment creatures and bestowing and like empowering someone, but then when they go you still have a living spirit behind it. It was super flavorful, and I loved so far both Theros old and new.
That's good to know. Uh, if you could change one thing in the rules for Magic, what would it be and why?
I would probably make it overall to be a lot simpler in the language. There's a couple rules that they have to be very specific because it was created for a specific purpose, and I'm fine with those corner cases. But some of the language within the whole um, magic rules are just, I feel, unnecessarily vague, so that they could have like a sub rule be specific. And I would change things to be a lot more user friendly. And like if I, because I always cite my rulings, and I want to show someone, well, this is why I'm making a ruling this way. It says here, this is what happens, and I want to be able to show someone like where I'm coming from for my ruling doesn't have to be scary. This is something that you have access to. You can pick it up, you can read through it, and make sense of it without it being very confusing language.
Yeah, there's definitely some stuff out there. For anybody listening at home that's unaware, Magic has this nice little 250-page comprehensive rule book online as a PDF that reads like contract law. It's a very interesting experience looking up some rules interactions there.
It is also fun to just peruse through it and like just go to a random section and see what it says. And you, for me, I try to think, well, why did they create this rule? What really niche corner case does this serve, or is it more of an overarching theme? It's kind of a cool, fun magic brain puzzle.
Yeah. We've only got a couple more questions. So what is your best gaming memory?
Oh, my best gaming memory. It was actually when I got into. I kind of took more of like a serious dive into Magic. Um, it was at a shop, and I had played I think it was around Core 13, M13, and oh, it was right. I remember Loxodon Smiter from Ravnica, so it would have been right about there. And I had like this cool like homebrew deck that I felt cool about, and I was able to, without being known to like really anyone else except who came out with me, I was able to take second that night. And it was playing against Huntmaster the Fells, a very difficult card for really any homebrew deck. In the end, I couldn't pull through, but for me, it felt great to kind of start making a name for myself with the homebrew. Um, and it really showed how welcoming the Magic community is. Um, there wasn't a lot of judgment. It was a lot of, "Ooh, I want to go see what this person has. Like they're 3-0 right now. What are they doing? I haven't seen them here before." Just some commons and uncommons, maybe a rare or mythic. It was a really great experience that night.
Awesome. Uh, so when you're playing, do you prefer 1v1 or do you prefer like group games?
For the like to like really hone in on my skills and like kind of refine things, I'll prefer 1v1. There's a lot of like mental games you can play. It's a lot of thinking like chess. If I hold up these lands, what mana do I represent? Therefore, what can my opponent expect to play around? If I'm looking to have fun and kind of unwind after a long week, or we're just hanging out and nothing serious, I absolutely love the company of others and will play some multiplayer games.
Excellent. So my last question here, how would you like to see the community grow?
Being in Alaska, where you're a little limited by population, the whole state has less than 1 million people, and that's dispersed along amongst the largest like chunk of for a state. Um, Luckily, I do live in a centralized area, so we do have more people. The way I'd want it to grow is to just have more people coming in. The way you do that's by reaching out and like showing others, hey, look at this cool game I play, this cool hobby I have. Because we don't just get a lot of visitors who come up and then end up staying. It's a lot of, oh, I'm here for the week. Yeah, let's play some Magic.
Gotcha. Well, I definitely want to thank you for your time. If you had anything that you wanted to talk about, we definitely have time for it.
If you guys have any questions at all, um, there's a ton of Magic resources online. You can see the comprehensive rules. There's even a website where you can ask a judge and you put in your scenario, what the cards are and what's going on. Someone will give you a ruling. If you have any questions at all and you want to play Magic the right way, it's always there and available. Um, I'm trying to break a stigma of judges aren't like people who are like going to scorn you. We're here to help, and any questions at all, don't hesitate to ask.
All right. Well, the community out here is definitely glad to have both you and Charles, who's our other judge. Awesome guy. And we definitely appreciate the efforts that you guys have put into providing this local level resource, and we're excited to have you here.
And I'm glad to be a part of a community who is both welcoming and can challenge themselves a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think that is about it for us tonight. So I just want to thank you again for joining us for the player spotlight, and we will see you as soon as we can.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Be safe, guys.